Imagine for a second, being born inside a massive, sprawling, windowless casino. Like, it is literally the only world you have ever known since the day you arrived.
Right.
You grow up under these buzzing neon lights, surrounded by the constant ringing of slot machines, the clinking of chips, the smell of, recycled air.
And in that scenario, I mean, you would just assume that is what nature actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd think the artificial lights of the sun and the sound of a jackpot paying out is like the equivalent of birdsong.
Totally. And you would spend your entire life trying to gather more chips. You'd be scheming to get past the velvet ropes into the VIP lounge, constantly trying to outplay the person sitting right next to you.
Because that is the environment.
Right. That is the reality you were handed. It wouldn't even cross your mind to look for an exit door to the outside.
Because, to your mind, there is no outside. The casino is the entire universe. The rules of the house are just the fundamental laws of physics.
Well, welcome to another deep dive, because today we are taking you out of the casino.
Yeah, we really are.
We are unpacking a highly provocative, just sweeping spiritual essay written by an author named Shufeng in September 2025. And it's titled "A Society Ruled by Power and Money Belongs to the Devil World."
It is a striking title.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the author does not hold back.
No, not at all.
This is a dense, visionary piece of writing that really challenges the very foundation of how human society operates. It asks a really uncomfortable question, which is, why does stepping off the treadmill of modern life feel literally impossible?
Right. Now, before we go any further, I want to make something crystal clear to you, our listener. This source material blends intense theological concepts, vast cosmology, and really radical social critique.
Very radical.
Yeah. And we are not endorsing these viewpoints. We are not taking sides politically or religiously on any of the profound claims made here. Our mission today is strictly to impartially unpack the fascinating ideas and massive thought experiments contained in Shufeng's original text.
That is a crucial baseline. We're treating this as a complete alternate paradigm of existence. To really grasp the critique of our society, we have to willingly step into the architecture of this worldview and examine how its different pillars support one another.
Okay, let's unpack this. Instead of just listing out the author's grievances with modern society, we actually need to look at the exact opposite first. To understand what is wrong with the casino, we need to see what the outside looks like.
Yeah, so Shufeng points us toward the ultimate ideal standard. It's a planet located exactly 960 light years away from Earth, and he refers to it as the 1,000-year world.
And the demographics of this place are wild. Across the entire globe, there are fewer than 200 million people.
Which, for context, is a tiny fraction of Earth's current population.
It's basically empty.
Right. It is an incredibly sparse, uncrowded, breathing world. And the inhabitants are described as living in total joy, complete freedom, and just absolute happiness.
But the critical differentiator, like the thing that fundamentally sets the 1,000-year world apart from our mortal world, is twofold. First, on this planet, there is absolutely no power to intrude upon life, as in nobody has authority over anyone else.
None at all.
And second, there is no money to corrupt the heart. It is a society completely devoid of the two forces that dictate almost every waking moment for you and me.
And what's fascinating is Shufeng explicitly links this alien world to ancient foundational religious ideals. Like, this isn't just a sci-fi concept.
Right, right.
The author aligns the 1,000-year world with what Christ Jesus called the kingdom of heaven and what Shakyamuni Buddha revealed as the Western Pure Land or the Western Elysium world.
So the defining characteristic of paradise in this framework isn't like clouds and harps.
No.
And it isn't having endless wealth either. It is specifically the complete absence of domination by power and the complete absence of seduction by money.
It's a profound reframing. Paradise is defined by the concept of wealth not existing at all.
I do have to push back here, though. I mean, looking at Earth's entire recorded history, we have never seen a single social form free from the rule of power and money. Every society forms hierarchies. Every society develops trade and currency. So isn't this 1,000-year world just, like a physicist assuming a frictionless vacuum? Isn't this just an impossible utopian thought experiment?
Well, Shufeng anticipates that exact skepticism. And what's fascinating here is how the essay addresses it. It completely flips our standard definition of humanity.
How so?
Well, we tend to view ambition, the desire for wealth, and the establishment of power structures as, baseline human nature.
Because it's all we've ever seen people do.
Exactly. But think about an animal born in captivity, like a a tiger in a very small zoo enclosure.
Okay.
If you watch that tiger, it paces back and forth along the fence line all day. If you only ever saw zoo tigers, you would write in a textbook, it is tiger nature to pace in a straight line for 10 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
Right. But that isn't tiger nature. That is prison nature. That is the psychological distortion caused by the cage.
That is wild.
Yeah, and Swiffing argues the exact inverse of our cynical view. The author argues that only when free from power and money do people live as truly human, which means our current baseline existence on Earth is actually less than human.
Because we're just pacing the cage.
Exactly. The greed and domination we see every day isn't our natural baseline. It is a distortion.
That is a massive paradigm shift. It basically implies every history book we have ever written is just a log of our time being less than human.
And Suofeng doesn't just leave this as a cosmic theory floating 960 light-years away either. We actually move from this theoretical, frictionless vacuum to a literal, boots-on-the-ground attempt to build it right here on Earth.
The Lifechanyuan experiment.
Yes, beginning in 2009.
Yeah.
This is an explicit, lived experiment modeled directly on the 1,000-year world, operating as a kingdom of heaven life experiment in the real world.
Right.
And at the time of this essay, in September 2025, it had survived for over 16 years of practice.
16 years of practice trying to live a life totally free from the rule of power and money. I mean, I am trying to wrap my head around the daily logistics of that.
It's hard to imagine.
Right. Imagine waking up in this community. There are no personal bank accounts. There is no boss or subordinate dynamic. You don't check your 401k because it literally doesn't exist. And Shufang reports that despite immense difficulties, this lifestyle far surpasses the traditional order in both quality and taste.
But manifesting this utopian society was brutally difficult. I mean, they ran into two massive obstacles. The first was internal.
The people themselves.
Yeah, the ingrained mindsets and habits of the members.
Which, I mean, that makes perfect sense with your tiger analogy. If you open the cage, the tiger might still just pace in a straight line out in the grass.
Exactly.
If you take people raised in a society ruled by money and power and drop them into a commune where those things don't exist, you're going to get severe psychological whiplash.
You have to unlearn the pacing. You have to unlearn the backward awareness and unhealthy customs of seeing everything as a transaction or a hierarchy.
Right.
But Suffing notes that this internal obstacle is entirely solvable. It could be fixed with values and programs. Most ordinary people actually welcome this kingdom of heaven life once their nervous systems finally adjust to it.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. The second obstacle they faced wasn't internal. It was external.
Yes, the oppression of power.
Exactly. The essay specifically identifies secular government as the absolute greatest barrier to ordinary people's happiness.
And that tension is central to the entire thesis.
But I get stuck on the physical logistics here. How does a group physically survive for 16 years without what the text calls the energy of money in a world completely driven by it?
It's the ultimate friction.
Right, because you can't just wish away property lines or taxes or zoning laws. How do you buy the land to start the commune without money? It sounds like they inevitably collided with an immovable object, which is secular government.
This raises an important question, right? To understand that collision, we have to unpack what Shuifeng means by the energy of money. It isn't just physical coins or digital numbers. It is the social gravity of our world.
Yeah.
It is the societal requirement to participate in a transactional economy just to exist. You need the energy of money to secure land, to buy seeds, to pay the property taxes the government demands.
It is the fuel of the earthly system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is the external world, like secular governments and systems, so incredibly hostile to a small group of people just trying to live without money and power?
It's like the system has an autoimmune response to anyone who stops playing the game.
Right.
And the essay provides a deeply cosmological answer to that pulsion. The reason secular society is so hostile isn't just due to bureaucracy. It is due to the fundamental theological nature of Earth itself, according to the text.
Yes, because in this worldview, human society runs on the rule of power and money. Because Earth is not merely a planet. Earth is essentially a prison.
I mean, let that sink in for a second for you listening. Schweffing states that many life beings, which is how the author refers to the spiritual essence or souls of individuals, violated heavenly principles in other realms. And as punishment, they were sent to the mortal world of Earth to serve sentences.
So the suffering, the friction, the constant struggle of human history, it's not a glitch. It is the designed, intended experience of a penal colony.
And every prison has a warden. The text reveals that the warden of this earthly prison is Satan. But Satan doesn't rule with, pitchforks and fire. Satan rules using two master levers over the mortal world.
The first lever is the lure to chase power,
Yeah.
and the second lever is the lure to chase money.
So it's essentially like Satan is running a massive cosmic casino. Power and money are just the free drinks being handed out by the waitstaff to keep everyone distracted at the tables.
That's a great way to put it.
As long as you're drinking, you never realize you're trapped inside.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the essay goes deep into the mechanics of how these levers actually work.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's look at the first lever, power. Shui Feng points out that wherever someone holds power to control others, their methods inevitably resemble the devil's. The greater the power a person acquires, the more devil-like their rule becomes.
Why does power inherently do that in this framework?
Because holding power over someone else forces you to dominate them. It requires you to enforce your will onto another life being. The system isn't just accidentally flawed. It is explicitly designed by the warden to corrupt your empathy.
Wow.
Wanting to be above others, which in our society draws intense praise and envy, is exactly the warden's ruling tactic to keep you locked in.
Hold on, so in this view, the CEO on the magazine cover, the billionaire innovator, they aren't the ultimate winners of life. They're just the most compliant prisoners.
They're the trusty inmates guarding the other inmates. They've bought into the warden's game so completely that they have become part of the prison's architecture.
That is a staggering way to view success. And the same destructive mechanism applies to the second lever, money. Shuefeng observes that wherever someone is obsessed with money, it directly degrades truth, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and integrity in the human heart.
Because the energy of money forces a zero-sum mentality. In a purely transactional mindset, you begin to see other human beings as commodities or resources or obstacles.
Right.
If your ultimate goal is accumulating wealth, you eventually have to compromise truth or kindness to get an edge.
I mean, think about your own life. Think about what happens when a massive sum of money is introduced into a family dynamic or an inheritance dispute. It almost instantly distorts the relationships. It forces everyone to guard their chips.
Because the goal of the prison is to keep the inmates serving their sentences. So long as people pursue power and money, their hearts remain corrupted, and they are kept firmly within the walls.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for you, the listener. If you are trapped in this cosmic casino managed by Satan's levers, what is the actionable path out? How does one orchestrate a jailbreak?
The blueprint for escape is laid out. The text's ultimate goal is this. If a person can go an entire life without seeking power or money, they lay the groundwork to break out to higher-level life spaces, like the 1,000-year world we discussed.
But Shuefeng outlines a brutal, grinding paradox here. Escaping is incredibly difficult because turning away from power guarantees you will face obstruction and suppression by those who have it.
You become a threat to the hierarchy.
Exactly. And turning away from money ensures your earthly life will be incredibly physically hard because society runs entirely on its energy.
You are trying to survive in an environment where the air itself is made of money and power. If you refuse to breathe it, you suffocate. But if you do breathe it, you remain imprisoned.
So what does this all mean? It is the ultimate catch-22. You need the energy of money to survive the prison, but desiring the money is exactly what keeps you locked inside.
And that validates exactly why the 16-year Lifechanyuan experiment was so incredibly beset with difficulties. It wasn't just a utopian camping trip. It was a literal, grinding attempt to escape the warden's levers in real time.
A daily act of resisting the fundamental gravity of the mortal world.
As Wu Feng concludes, breaking out is not easy.
It really isn't. So let's take a moment to recap the sheer scale of the journey we've just been on. We started by gazing 960 light-years away at the idealized 1,000-year world, a place defined by its total lack of power and money.
Right.
We brought that ideal down to earth with the 16-year Lifechanyuan earthly experiment, seeing how hard it is to actually rewrite our internal programming. And finally, we confronted the stark realization of Earth as a prison managed by the dual levers of power and money.
And I think the value of a text like this is immense. Even if you view it purely as a metaphor, it forces you to deeply question your own daily pursuit of status, wealth, and control.
It really asks you to consider whether the things you think are setting you free are actually the very things locking you in.
Exactly.
But, thinking about those 16 years of the Lifechanyuan experiment, it leaves me with one final question. Something drawn from a specific detail in the text that we haven't fully analyzed yet.
What's that?
Well, Shuefeng describes Earth not just as a prison, but as a transit station for life. And if successfully living without power and money guarantees a jailbreak to a higher level space, what happens to the life beings who attempt the jailbreak but fail due to the crushing pressure of the warden's system?
That is a fascinating implication.
Right. Does the sheer act of resisting the twin levers of power and money fundamentally change the trajectory of your transit, even if you never fully break out?
Does just recognizing the cage count for something?
Exactly. Is the struggle itself part of the redemption? It's definitely something for you to mull over long after this deep dive ends. Because at the end of the day, you have to decide what to do when you finally realize you've been sitting at a slot machine your entire life. Do you pull the lever again, or do you start looking for the exit door? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.